We are here because we want to stop speaking for free and we want to start building an enterprise. So, just a few housekeeping things. I said cameras on, but you can keep your cameras off because I can't see you. But please be present if I ask a question or if there's anything. I don't even have to ask a question. If you're just thinking about something, you have an aha moment, you want to chime in, please engage in the chat or, like I said, unmute yourself. I am good with that too. The replays, after they're already in the community because I've done this live already last month. So the replay is there. If you have any questions, you can either drop them in a chat. We have a smaller group today, so it won't get lost that much, or you can drop them in the Q&A, whichever makes you feel more comfortable, and I will answer. Disclaimer. Results are not guaranteed, and results vary based on individual circumstances, work ethic, what's going on in the world, any other thing. But what I do want to show you is what is possible. All right. So let's talk about this whole idea of speaking for free and speaking for exposure, and the reason that most experts get stuck in that vicious cycle. It's not because your lack of talent, because I can imagine. Tell me, everybody, like, how many years of experience do you have in the area that you speak about, train about, coach about? What's your years of experience? Just drop it in the chat for me. Kristen said 2 on one topic, 15 on another, right? 6 years for Rashawn. So you all are not new to this. So it's not a lack of talent. Sherry says 15 plus, right? It's not a lack of talent that is keeping us in this place. Is that you're missing a critical business mindset. So this masterclass is more than the question that I get asked all the Kelly, how do I find, paid speaking engagements? How do I get booked on these stages? But a lot of that comes from the preparation and the work that you do beforehand. So this is more than about getting booked. This is about changing your trajectory as a speaker, as a trainer, as a coach, and as a consultant. I am on a mission. Like, my mission is to ensure that women like you, that your value is not erased. And the way that I help you do that is to ensure that you have this right mindset, you have the business mindset. So let's be honest. Have you ever looked at someone on stage and then you thought, they're not more talented than me? They don't have more experience than me. They're not as charismatic as me. They're not as good looking as me. So why are they being paid and I'm not being paid? Anybody have that experience? Kristen says yes, right? We've all had that experience. Sherry says all the time. Absolutely, right? We have these experiences. But what if I told you that the difference isn't talent? Because you see them, you've watched them, you've listened to them. So you know it's not talent. But you have to believe first. The difference isn't talent. So do you believe that you already have expertise? Because one of the things that they have is belief. So do you believe that you already have expertise, right? You all said 6 years, 15 years, 2 years, another 15 years, right? Do you believe? Kristen says, I do, but then I doubt myself. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, right? So if you even have that belief, right? Even if it's a little shaky, Kristen, don't worry about it. Even if it's a little shaky sometimes, you're in the right place. You're in the right place for me to help you and support you to move beyond that, because you're about to discover 5 shifts. And these 5 shifts are going to make all the difference from trading time for exposure, right? A lot of us are trading time for exposure. And you might think I would say, oh, you're going to trade time for money, but we don't trade time for money either. We trade value for money, right? And so we're going to be talking about making sure that you're building real scalable revenue. Not out here for free, not out here for exposure, unless that's what you decide to do, right? What we want to get away from is the tradition and the expectation that you should, that you must, that you have to speak for free or exposure. So you're going to learn what it takes to turn your expertise into an enterprise. One of the things that I have been working with my clients on is really understanding the true value of your expertise and the true value of what you know. And when you understand that, when you're able to stand in the power of that, you'll understand that this is not just about speaking or training or coaching or consulting. It truly is about building an enterprise and an ecosystem around your expertise. So, do you believe that that's possible for you? Do you think that you could turn your expertise into an enterprise? Do you think that you could have an ecosystem around your expertise? Let me know. Let me know. If you want, say yes. If you're like yes, even if you have like a little bit of doubt, yes. Sherry says I have to, right? You have to. And I love that you said that, Sherry. And let me say something. Michonne, yes, right. I want to say something about that because one of the things my clients ask me all the time is like, Kelly, do you believe in me? It's so listen, I believe in you, but it doesn't matter, right? What I believe about you doesn't matter. Now, if I believe in you, yes, I'm going to push you, right? And I'm going to snatch your edges and I'm going to make you, do things that you probably don't want to do. But it doesn't matter if I believe. What matters is if you believe, because my belief can waver. I might believe in you today and don't believe in you tomorrow. So if you're just hanging on what I'm doing, right, you don't have any control over me. You don't have any control over other people. So if you're trying to find belief in other people, you're looking in the wrong place. So you must believe that it's possible for you. So the 5 strategic shifts to go from gig chaser to business builder. One of the words that I hate, loathe when it comes to experts is the idea that you have these gigs. You have speaking gigs. You're not an Uber driver. You don't drive for Lyft. You're not a door dasher. Those are gigs, right? When we're talking about people who have 15, 2 years of expertise, decades of expertise, we're talking about people who have engagements and contracts. Words are powerful. Words matter. And so when we start thinking or when we buy into this idea that we're getting these gigs, they're these one-off things. They could pay you or not pay you. When you start talking about having contracts and engagements, there is a different level of listening and there's a different level of action, right? And reaction when people hear those types of terms. So that's one of the things I just want you to think about. So that's why I said go from gig chaser to business builder. You're going to learn how to unlock both freedom and financial growth, no compromises, right? You can be unapologetic about this. And you're going to hear real stories from women experts who've made the shift. So some of my clients, you'll hear some videos from them. Kristen laughed. Yes, honey, we don't drive Uber around here, right? We don't work when we don't want. Like, I hate that word. I just hate it. Anyway, soapbox. So isn't it time that your knowledge, not just your hustle, right? And I know people are like, oh, don't hustle. Like, we got to hustle sometimes, right? But isn't it time that your knowledge, not just your hustle, started working for you? So I thought the same thing. So let me tell you a little bit about me and how this all started and how I even got into this space. In 2017, I was practicing law. So I started practicing law in 1995. So this year will be my 3rd decade. Actually, September 22nd will be the actual 30th year that I was sworn into the Florida bar. But in 2017, I was practicing law in Tampa. And my firm had pushed me into doing personal injury cases, which I hated. But anyway, in personal injury cases, you see, all these people, they got the big checks, right? Oh, he got me a big check. Well, the way that they get those big checks is that they use expert witnesses during these cases. And those expert witnesses can range anywhere from somebody who's like, doing accounting to medical doctors. Mostly in these personal injury cases, it's medical doctors. So when we have medical doctors in the cases, we have to take their depositions. So one day I was taking a deposition of a doctor and I was asking him questions about how much money he was making, right? I knew how much money he was making for that particular case because we see how much they're paid, but I needed to know how much money he had made doing this, right? Being an expert witness for the last 3 or 4 years. And the reason we do that is so that we can impeach their credibility, right? Show them as a hired gun. So we're sitting in this beautiful building in Tampa, looking out on the city. He owns the floor, right, of this building. And I say to him, so how much money have you made in the past 3 or 4 years? And he says that he'd made like $3 or $4 million. And I was like, oh, girl, you in the wrong business. Like, what? Right? He had made $3 to $4 million. In that moment, something really clicked for me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. This man is here getting paid for what he knew, not what he do. And what do I mean by that? So as an expert witness, what they do is we hire them. So either side will hire medical doctors, and we send them a bunch of paperwork. We send them all the medical records we have for whatever the plaintiff, the person suing. And what they do is they sit, they read through them. Hopefully, they read through them, right? They read through them, and then they issue an opinion. Sometimes it's a verbal opinion because we don't want it in writing. Sometimes it's in writing. So here it is that we're paying thousands of dollars every time we hire these experts, and what we're paying them for is their opinion. They do not see the plaintiff. They do not know who the plaintiff is. They wouldn't know who the plaintiff is if I put them on their lap and they didn't know that that's who that was and I didn't tell them. Right? So it's not, he wasn't doing what he does as a medical doctor. He was just using his brain, right? The things that he had known, the expertise. And that really struck me. And I was like, oh, girl, you got to be doing something else because they're here billing you out at $165 an hour. This ain't going to work. Right. And then it happened again, right, during another deposition. And I really started to think, Kelly, there has got to be more. And then other things started happening, right? And I was like, oh, I just feel constrained. I feel restricted by being in this legal profession. I have these clients and I have the bar rules and I have all of these things. And I was in this box and there were so many rules. And I just started to really appreciate that there was more to this, right? And I realized that's when I retired. So I retired after 2 decades. So that was 2018. 2017, I started having these these thoughts. In 2018, I started thinking about, how do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? What is that transition for me? I started thinking about that. I wanted to do a TEDx and I wanted to write a book and I wanted to make sure that this whole idea of being a professional speaker, right? Because that was one of the ideas I came up with, that this idea of being a professional speaker was actually something that could be done. And so I started talking to people and telling people about it, because what I realized was, see, I tell you, it just does what it wants to do. I realized that my value wasn't in what I did for my clients, right? It was what I knew and how I leveraged it and how I packaged it. And it came from being in that deposition and really watching and then starting to really pay attention. I had done expert witness depositions before, but for some reason that really struck me that day. And so I went about trying to figure out, how do I get paid for what I knew instead of what I do? And that's what I do now for my clients. Really help them to understand that that corporate expertise that you have is worth millions, right? It is worth its weight in gold. And we have taken so much time to use that knowledge to build other people's businesses and build other people's enterprises, that it's time for us to learn how to build our own. And so, have you ever felt frustrated because you knew that you could do more, right? Even now, even if you're already in entrepreneurship, right? Even if you're already in this crazy space of entrepreneurship, you ever feel like, no, there's got to be more than this. And I can do more. Like, I'm playing myself. There are many days that I say, I'm like, girl, you are playing yourself. Right? Even still, because this is always a journey that we go on. Kristen said, yep. Right? But maybe you weren't sure how to make it happen. Right? When I first started and I thought about this whole journey, I didn't really know how I was going to make all of this happen. And so one of the things that I did was I hired coaches, right? I immediately hired coaches and I started to talk to people about what it is that I wanted to do. And in fact, what I wanted to do originally, what I said I was going to do, I was going to come out and be HR counsel for all these companies. I ended up saying, that is not what I want to do, right? But when I really honed in on the fact that I wanted to be a professional speaker and I wanted to write this book and I wanted to do this TEDx, I started looking for the people and looking in the places that I needed to. And I started showing up in those places so that I could make the connections and learn the things that I needed to do so that I could be like him, so that I could get paid for what I knew and not for what I do. So, if there was a proven way to turn your years of knowledge into real impact and real income, would you want it? Tell me if you would want it. If there's a way to do that, would you want to know? Would you want to know? Let me know. Good. Good. I was like, because if y'all don't want to know, we can stop. Michelle said, oh, yeah, duh. Okay, well, let's go. Let's go. Well, there is a proven way. And I'm proof of it. And this is what I want to show you, that you can take what is in your mind and you can do and make and become anything, right? And so remember when I said that I wanted to help you understand how to take your expertise and turn it into an enterprise, into an ecosystem. That's exactly what I've done, right? I have built an ecosystem around my expertise. So I'm a keynote speaker. I'm an award-winning TEDx speaker. I'm a 4-time author. I'm a mentor and strategist for women. I'm right now building and producing a major event. I'm a podcast host. I used to publish a magazine, and I've been featured in NBC, CBS, ABC, Fast Company, Authority Magazine, Forbes, right? And not only do I work to amplify my own voice, one of the key things that I work on is amplifying, affirming, and elevating the voices of other women. So the women that you see here on the screen are women who I worked with last year to put on stage. So I helped them develop their signature talks from beginning to end. And then I put them on stage. And we did that in a matter of 4 months. So they had an entire virtual leadership conference that I put together and produced for them and put them on stage. So that was the day that we had that. It's called Iconic Talks. So I want you to show you what is possible, right? And I want you to understand that even while I was in the practice of law before I retired, I had become an award-winning TEDx speaker. I did that while I was still trying cases 14 hours a day, right? I got my first paid speaking engagement at $7,500. Why do I tell you $7,500? Because I want you to know you don't have to do it for free. And you don't have to do it for $100, right? You can set the value and you can go for it, right? And I had also written my first book by the time that I was still in practicing law. So from January of 2018 to November of 2018, I had accomplished all 3 of those things because I put my mind to it. I understood the power of being able to do that. I believed in myself, but I also took action, right? And so one of the things, thanks, Kristen, one of the things you have to understand is that when you have belief, it's not enough, right? Beyond a belief, there has to be action. So, but I'm not the only one. So I want to share with you a little bit about my clients, and then we're going to dive in. So my clients have used my frameworks and my strategies and are also proof of what's possible. Because it's one thing for me to tell you, yeah, I did it. But it's another thing to see people who are like you. Maybe some of you know these ladies, and to just give you some insight, right, around what it is like to work with me and to understand the power of who you are and stand in that power. So this is Lynn. Lynn and I actually just last week, Lynn and I spoke at the same conference, the HR Florida conference. And so that was really great for me to be able to be there with my client and watch her just really kill the stage. So she has sent me messages. These are different messages that she has sent me about her first 4-figure client being paid in full. When I started working with Lynn, she was charging like 3 numbers per hour. Like I was like, girl, we don't do that around here. And then she was, she told me she's getting paid $7,500 by a nonprofit. This is important because a lot of you like to work with nonprofits and you think the nonprofits don't have money. They have money. They have budget, right? So I don't want you to think, oh, well, I'm in nonprofit, so it has to be low. It does not. She's living proof of it. She just sent out, she's going to be speaking at another engagement and they're paying for her expenses. She's not getting a fee up front, but they're paying her expenses. But I want you to hear directly from Lynn because it's one thing, again, for me to tell you, and it's another thing for you to hear it yourself. So here we go.
Before I started working with Kelly, I was going through the process of submitting applications to speak at various events and with organizations and associations. And I started seeing a pattern in that process. And that pattern was they were asking for very specific things. For example, what are some of the takeaways? What were, the title of your talk? What are your abstract, right? And I didn't have some of this stuff. And it got me to thinking that, there's something more that I need. So when I saw that Kelly was offering the signature talk experience, I knew that that was a training that I needed, because I thought that submitting these applications, it was just a matter of sharing my story, but it wasn't. There was something more to it. So when I got in the signature talk experience, whoa, right? And I went from the signature talk experience and to do other trainings with Kelly. And let me just say this, that since I've gone through these experiences with Kelly, first of all, I've written my signature talk. From that, I've gained confidence for the work that I do as a career and leadership coach, coaching mid career ambitious women. And I've also gained experience in speaking in corporate organizations, being a speaker and getting paid to speak. My first speaking gig, I landed after the signature talk experience for an hour for over $7,000. Listen, if you have an opportunity to gain some experience or get in a training with Kelly, don't even think twice about it, because I am here to tell you it is an absolute experience. So, Kelly, I just want to thank you for not just being my soror, but being a mentor, being someone that I can continue to call on and actually continue to learn from. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with the world.
That is Lynn. And I
What are you
want to
charging them?
I
What are you
was
closing?
do this, but this is Dr. Precious Boyle. So Dr. Precious, we did her signature talk experience. So I want you to hear, just this was a conversation that she and I were having, and she's okay with me sharing it with you. But before I do that, you can see here she says, "Hey, I'm doing well. Life is busy and business is booming. Haven't had a chance to check in, but to shift with you, but the shift to focus on the power of self-awareness has ignited the momentum in my work. When Dr. Precious came to me, Dr. Precious wanted to focus on emotional intelligence because that's the thing that's out there. But what really was her intellectual property was this idea of self-awareness. And so I shifted her to really lean into that. And because she did that, she said, I have contracts coming at me left and right. This was like within weeks after we did this. She said, I'm barely keeping up these days. I have more session series in the calendar for July than I've ever had before. It's okay though, because they're all getting the same session. And what she's talking about is how I teach them to really make sure that you're doing the same thing, but you can customize. So here's a quick conversation with me and Dr. Precious.
What are you charging them? What are you closing? Whatever you close. Tell me.
I closed a 3 session for 25,000. And I was like, say what now? Okay.
I told you.
But I didn't blink twice. Based on what they wanted and based on what I knew I was going to deliver, that was the biggest one that I had closed.
Good.
And it felt good because it wasn't emotional intelligence.
It was yours.
It was mine. And what she said was, I completely trust you. Whatever you're going to do.
Because you showed up in the clarity and the power of who you are.
Yeah.
So see, that's why it's so important to understand who you are and to believe in who you are, but then to take action, right? So it was one thing for me to help her develop this talk, and it's another thing for her to go out there, believe that she could, and then go pitch that and get that money, right? So there's a process to this. We have to do the work. So it's all about leveraging everything that you've lived, everything that you've learned, and then positioning, packaging, and pricing it for influence, impact, and income. So remember when I said in the beginning that so many people ask me about, how do I get paid to speak? I could answer that question, right? I could just tell you, well, or where do I find paid speaking engagements? Well, you go on LinkedIn and you find the HR director or the VP of whoever, whatever. You go submit. I could tell you all of those things. But if you're not positioned, packaged, or priced correctly, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get those engagements. You can find them, you're not going to get them. So this is exactly what I teach women experts, right? To become highly paid and sought after. But you must be willing to make these 5 shifts that we're going to be talking about today. So if you're willing to shift, I need you to drop shift with an F in the chat. If you're willing to shift, drop shift in the chat. Kristen says shift with an exclamation point, and I love it. Yes, yes. So we have to shift, right? So shift number 1. Let's talk about this. We're getting into it right now. So if you need to take notes, take notes. But Michonne says shift. So shift number 1 is that you need to adopt, Sherry says shift. We need to adopt a CEO mindset, right? We need to stop showing up as talent. This is something that I work with my clients on and talk about all the time. The idea of CEO versus talent. We show up on stage as talent. We love to be on stage. We love to be, coaching people. So when I say stage, I'm talking about any type of stage. So whether it's you're speaking on an actual stage, right, in front of an audience, whether you're on a virtual stage, whether you're, one-to-one stage with your clients, I call it a stage. All the world's a stage, as they say, right? And so because we are brilliant, because we like to share our information, because we like to shift people, showing up as talent is easy for us and we love it, right? And so the moment that we get the opportunity to do that, we are all in. The problem is that when we come into this business, when we come into the speaking industry business, we forget that not only are we talent, but we are CEOs of a business. And as a CEO of a business, when you are having conversations about how you get on these stages and what it costs, right? What they have to invest in you, in your value to get you on those stages, we're often not showing up in our role as CEO. We're showing up as talent, and talent just wants to get on stage. So if you want to shift, if you want to go from people always asking you to speak for free or for exposure, you got to learn how to stop showing up only as talent and start leading, negotiating, and owning your business, right? You have to start doing that, because if not, talent is, I always say talent needs to take several seats, right? If you don't show up as the CEO of your business, when you're having those conversations, it's hard for you in a sales conversation to be like, no, I need you to run me my money. Has anybody ever had like a conversation where you're like, oh man, I just really want to be on this stage, and it causes you to maybe have accepted less or even do something for free that you thought, somebody really should be paying me for this. Anybody? That happened to anyone? Kristen said yes, right? And listen, there's no shame in it because we've all done it. And this is why I harp so much on this idea of understanding we are CEO and we're talent. When we're on stage, we're a talent. When we're doing anything else related to this business, we're the CEO, we're the salesperson, we're the HR person, we're the finance person, we're marketing, we're all the other things, right? And most are solopreneurs, so you really are all of those other things. So I want to share with you. Sherry says never free, but not enough. Michonne says not yet. That's what I'm avoiding. Great. So see, like good. And we have everybody, right, who's in whatever spectrum. And this, I'm so glad that you're here because it's important for you to start getting this knowledge and getting the truth. I know that there are a lot of lies and there are a lot of things that happen in this industry that people tell you because they're trying to hold you back. So I want to share with you Venice. So Venice Johnson is one of my clients, and you can see this is her on our Iconic Talk stage last year. And I want to show you from Venice what happens when you really stand in the power of who you are, believe that you deserve, right, these things, and also take action. So let's just listen to Venice really quickly.
Hi, my name is Venice Johnson, the Boldness Coach, and I'm so happy to share with you my experience of working with Kelly as my speaker coach. I came to Kelly with two specific challenges. One was that as a veteran speaker, I needed to up-level my speaking game and to find a methodology that would work for me so that I could take my speaking career to the next level. Kelly brought the receipts. The receipts that she brought were the ones that helped her to up-level her career, and she brought them into our coaching engagement. And that was a game changer for me in landing speaking gigs. The other aspect that I worked with Kelly on was to really support me and to help me to take my corporate contracts from a 5-figure contract to a 6-figure contract. And I was able to do that because Kelly helped me to really understand the monetary value of my speaking skills as they related to doing corporate coaching and corporate training. So if you are in the speaking business, if you are looking to get into the speaking business, Kelly is the perfect coach that can help you to be able to take your speaking career to the next level. I highly, highly recommend Kelly. And I just want to tell you in advance, buckle up, because Kelly is a real coach and she is going to bring the receipts so that you can produce receipts. Happy speaking.
And so what I want you to know is that I will give you everything that I have. I will share the frameworks. I will share the good that's happening in my business, the bad that's happening in my business, the mistakes that I've made, all the wins that I have. But I will give you what you need, but you've got to do the work. And that's exactly what my clients do. And that's why they have gotten the results that you see here today. So let's talk about shift number 2. So shift number 1 was to adopt a CEO mindset. Really understand that you're running a business. A business has the products or services that people need to pay for, right? And you're not a discount warehouse. So therefore, you have to understand that first. You need to understand your value first so that you can then communicate that to other people. Shift number 2 is that you need to build your business backbone. And what do I mean by that is that you need to know your numbers and you got to set up systems and processes. Let me talk to you about the numbers first. Some of us, like I've been in programs where I have been shocked, right? One, by my own lack of knowledge, and two, by the lack of knowledge from other women who have been entrepreneurs for way longer than I have when it comes to our numbers. What are they? What are the numbers? What do they mean? What are we supposed to be tracking? What is a P&L? What are the cost of goods sold? What's the cost of services? What is your profit margin? What are all those things? We don't pay attention. And because we don't pay attention, when somebody says to you, oh, maybe I'll give you $500 for an hour to speak, right? Or $1,500 or even $5,000 for an hour. The only frame of reference that we have generally is, what did I make over there? What did I make as an employee? What was my hourly rate? So if my hourly rate was $50, $90, even $100 an hour, and now somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you $500. I'm going to give you $1,500. I'm going to give you $5,000 an hour. You're like, oh, that's a come up, right? But if you really truly understood your numbers and understood your value, you would know that that is not a come up. That what you were getting paid over here was something that somebody else decided. They decided that that was your value. They don't know your true value. Only you know your true value, right? And when you're over here now as an expert, getting paid $500 an hour is not a good thing, right? $1,500 an hour is not a good thing for experts who have decades, right? 10 years, 5 years, 20 years of experience. But because you don't know your numbers and you have not looked at what it really takes to run your business, it seems like a good thing in the moment. So you have to know your numbers. You have to set up systems and processes. It needs to run like clockwork. This is something that I wish that I had known in the beginning and had done in the beginning, right? Because, baby, doing everything manually will drive you crazy. And when you're a solopreneur and you don't have team, you don't have employees, right? It's you. Remember, I just said you are all the things. including the talent that needs to be on stage. That's why you need systems and processes in place to help you, right? To move things along, to move them more smoothly so that you can do the things that need to be done in order to get you on stage, right? So systems and processes are really important. And one of the things that I have done recently, because I love AI, is that I have been developing AI teams, right, to systemize a lot of the processes, right, that we need to use as experts. And that team is going to be revealed to you. And I'll talk about the Speaking Industry Expo later, but I'm going to reveal them in November and let you all use them so you can see what it takes to like really speed up, really speed up the process when you have systems in place. And I learned this the hard way, right? Let me tell you about the hard way. I learned this the hard way, this whole thing about numbers and systems, because I had a business where I just wanted to pour in. Who's a person who likes to pour in? She said, Dari says, oh, tell me more about that. Dari, what you need to know more about? Tell me. I am a pourer. Girl, I will pour and I will pour and I will pour, like from an empty cup pouring, right? And I was so afraid to look at the numbers. I knew the business was not doing well. I promise you that I knew. And I was like, oh, it's not making as much money as I think that it should make. But I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And I refused to go look at the numbers until one day I was just like, Kelly, this is enough. You have got to go look at these numbers. And when I tell you, I was in shock. I was in shock. It was worse. I mean, so much worse than I thought. And I had been doing it for years. It was worse than I thought. And so it is so important. I really want to harp on you. I'm a lawyer, right? And I'm always like, I don't like numbers. I'm not a numbers person. I'm a lawyer. I think I analyze, right? But you're a business person, right? I am now a business person. And so I have to know the numbers. So I'm going to harp on you about that one to make sure that you know your numbers. Derry says, oh, the AI systems. Okay, I'll tell you. I actually did a video on it yesterday, but I'll tell you more about it. Kristen says, yes. Oh, yes, I'm a giver way too much. And it will bankrupt us, right? So it doesn't mean that you don't give. It means that you understand where you are able to give, right? Without damaging your own business, your own life, your own lifestyle. Shift number 3, we want to mogulize your expertise. So part of my company is called Speaker Mogul. So I'm always talking about moguls, right? So we want to mogulize your expertise. What do I mean by that? I mean that you need to speak. You need to have books. You need to have courses, coaching, consulting, training, events, podcasts, online shows, physical products, digital products, whatever it is that you can think of. Because it's your mind, it's your brilliance, it's your expertise. You could turn it into anything. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you permission, right? To turn your expertise into money, right? And so when I talk about turning your expertise into an enterprise, that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about building an ecosystem around your expertise, that's what I'm talking about. You could see behind me, I have books and I have like cards that I've made. And I told you that I've done magazines and podcasts and all the things, right? I speak, I've done courses. It is really only up to your imagination. You are limited only by your imagination. And so we have to start thinking about how do we mogulize our expertise as opposed to just coming out and being like, oh, I just want to be a speaker. I want to be in corporate. I want to be on these conference stages. Number one, those conference stages don't pay, right? Unless you're the keynote, they ain't paying you, right? So that is not a business model, right? And yes, there might be people in the audience who can pay you at some time, but unless you can float yourself until those people, the decision makers in corporate decide, right, that you're the one, then that is not a full business model. It's part of a business model, but it's not the full thing. So you need to understand how to mogulize your expertise. So when people talk about like having different streams of income, yes, having different streams of income, but it's not basket weaving and, day trading and speaking on stage and then, whatever else y'all want to do, right? Renting out houses, right? It's not all different businesses. It's understanding what is my zone of genius and how do I monetize off of that zone of genius in many different ways. So the shift number 4 that I need you to make is to understand that you need to collabosource and not compete. So I have a trademarked word called collabosourcing, and it means leveraging your expertise, your resources, and your relationships to build your business, your brand, and your badassery. It is the idea of working together with other people, but also understanding what it is that you need, what are you in search of, so that when you show up in rooms or you have an opportunity, you understand what is the value, what is the ROI, what am I looking for when I'm there? Am I looking for expertise? Am I looking for resources? Am I looking for relationships? And badassery. Yes, Michonne, I always say badassery. And understanding that you need to partner and profit with your peers. I know a lot of us, right? And especially women, we have a bad reputation about not wanting to work together. But we have got to learn how to collaborate, because, especially in this day and age, this is how you're going to make money. You see all these quote unquote gurus out there. What do? They partner and profit from all of us, right? They are always on stage together. They don't think that they're too big to be on stage with another big person. They don't think that having another big person on their stage is going to diminish them or take away from them in any way, right? If you know Tony Robbins, you see Tony Robbins and Dean Gracioso, they're like two peas in a pod, right? If you're Jamaican with Sebastian Bench, right? They are always together, always on whatever, and they don't care. And guess what? They both make money in that same arena from that same group of people, because what does it do? It elevates all, what does it say? Rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so you got to learn to partner and profit with your peers. Remember when I said that my very first speaking engagement that I got was $7,500? Do you know how I got that? I got that from partnering and profiting with my peers, right? I had my mentor who we are in a strategic partnership, so that sometimes I train her clients, sometimes she trains my clients. We train on the same things, or we used to. I don't as much anymore. But at that time, she had a client that needed training on a subject that I had expertise in that she did not. That's how I got my first $7,500 client. And so you got to learn to partner and profit with your peers. Now, I'm not saying that you partner and profit with people who, just are unethical or just do it for the sake of doing it. Really vet people and understand who those people are. Make sure that if they're going to be working with your clients, that they would give them the same level of service and excellence. Like my mentor knows she don't have to worry about me. She knows she don't have to worry about me stealing her clients, nothing. Her clients have called me, emailed me, tried to go around her, and all I do is be like, hey, such and such, just call me, right? So she knows she doesn't have to worry about that. Same with me. I know I don't have to worry about that with her. So obviously you need to vet people, but you need to get in the habit of understanding that partnering will bring you profit. So this is that first speaking engagement. So October 22nd, 2018, girl, my hair looked a mess. But anyway, this is what we do. And funny enough, a year to the day, exactly a year to the day, my firm told me that I was going to lose my job at the end of the year. And the reason that they did that is because they didn't like that I was out there, putting myself out there, developing my personal brand and making sure that I was going to be taken care of, because I knew I wanted to leave, right? So I wanted to leave, and they figured that out. And so they went on a mission to put me out, which they did on December 31st, 2019. But that's okay, because you see what has happened since then. Because not only did I have a desire, I was committed to that desire. I believed in myself. I believed that I deserved it. And I took action, which is most important. So I call that the backwards alphabet: DCBA, desire, commitment, belief, action. All right. So shift number 5, we are in the home stretch. Shift number 5 is that you need to embrace that you are the table. This is so important, y'all. I wrote an article some years ago about I don't need a seat at the table, right? Oops, let me go back. So people are always talking about, I want a seat at the table. Have y'all ever heard that, or have you said that? Like, I'm just looking for my seat at the table. What I need you to do is understand that you are in fact the table, and you need to stop waiting for a seat. You need to stop waiting for permission. You need to stop waiting for a stage. There was a post yesterday on, I don't know if it was a yesterday post, I saw it yesterday on Yahoo, and they were talking about Taylor Townsend, who is a Black tennis player. And they were saying that years ago, she used to have Nike as her sponsor. Then that ended. And since that time, like nobody has sponsored her. Now she's a really good tennis player. She's over there killing it right now, just shaking up stuff, right? And she's really good, but she has not had a, a sponsor. You see them all with their Nike and all the stuff. So Taylor decided that she was going to be her own sponsor. She developed her own logo and she developed her own line, and she walks around with her logo on her clothing. Why? Because she decided that she's the table, right? So I don't need a seat at your table. I will bring my table to your table, right? We can bring our tables together and we can figure it out, but I am not looking for a seat at your table. And so that is a shift that we need to make and really understand that we are the table. Because if I'm waiting for you to give me a seat, or if I'm seeking a seat at your table, I have put you at a level above me. We are not the same. Does that make sense? Do y'all get that? If I need a seat at your table, we are not the same. You are above me. You own that space. I am trying to come into your space. Whereas if I have a table and you have a table, oh, we're the same. And we're going to figure out, does this work? And if it doesn't work, fine. I will be over here at my table and you stay over there at your table. Right? So stop waiting for a seat, stop waiting for permission, and stop waiting for a stage. Terry says, yes, 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 right? So build your own rooms, build your own stages, build your own economy. I know we don't like Gen Alpha, right? They're just a little bit much, right? People don't love Gen Alpha, and they don't love the Gen Zs too much either, right? But one thing about them, they know that they're the table, honey. They know that they're the table. That's why they're out here building their own rooms, building their own stages, building their own economy. They don't need anybody's job. As much as these, corporations think that they do not. They have YouTube channels and live streaming and Twitch and all the things, making all the money, right? And they're not afraid. And so we have to adopt some of that. We have to take on some of that and understand that we can build our own rooms. We can build our own stages. We can build our own economy. You don't have to wait for somebody to put you on stage. You can build your own stage. That's why I'm building the 6. I'm gonna build my own stage. I don't need you to put me on stage. You need me. I have the expertise, right? So you need to build your stage. Mashawn said that's a word, right? So here's the recap. Shift number 1. Adopt a CEO mindset. You are not just talent. You run a business. A business has products and services. Products and services people pay for. Shift number 2, you need to build your business backbone. You need to understand your numbers. You need to know those numbers inside and out. I don't care if you have somebody who takes care of your books. I have somebody who takes care of my books. But for a long time, what I was doing is every month we would sit down and I make them walk me through what does all this mean so that I understand. Right? So that I can be conversant about that. You got to put systems and processes in place. I'll tell you a little bit more in just a minute about how I have helped and how I'm going to help you. If you're at the 6 and if you work with me after that, how I'm going to help you to really put systems in place, automate some of what you do. Number 3, you need to mobilize your expertise. We can't just be doing one thing, right? It'll be great if we could just do one thing. It ain't gonna work. Right? You got to figure out multiple ways to monetize and mobilize your expertise. Number 4, we have to learn to collaborate and not compete. Proximity is power, right? Getting together with people and doing things together is powerful. This is why the gurus do it all day, every day, right? For the next couple of days, I'll be on this thing with Russell Brunson. He has brought in McCall Jones. Those two are first of all, if you can't listen to people speak really fast, you'll just lose your mind. But they speak really quickly. But those two together are running amok, right? Getting people's money, right? Tony Robbins, Dean Gracioso, same thing. And if you ever see all of those people and you see these flyers with all the people, who do you see? The same people. They run in packs. They run in packs because they're not competing. They know that it don't matter how many of them are on that flyer. If they're selling something and somebody's in that room, they're going to buy it because they might not buy everybody's things, but not everybody is for everybody. And then number 5, you need to embrace that you are the table. If you don't do anything else when you leave here today, I just need you to do that one thing, to embrace that you are the table and to understand that you've got to rise to the level, right, of where you want to be and how you want people to perceive you so that you can get the respect and that you deserve, right? But that only happens if you believe that you deserve that. All right. So if making these shifts takes you from unpaid or underpaid, right? So we had both of those scenarios in here, unpaid or underpaid, to highly paid and sought after. Are you willing to make these shifts? Let me know if you're willing to make these shifts, and we'll be out of here in the next probably about 15 minutes. Are you willing to make those shifts? Let me know in the chat. Kristen said definitely. Awesome. Majan said, yup. All right. Okay, well, let's do it, right? So would building an enterprise around your expertise change your life? Let me know, and I'll just keep going because I want to make sure that I don't keep you here much past like about 1:15, maybe 1:20. So y'all just keep letting me know. She said, want to, need help on it. Absolutely. So if there was someone who could show you the way, would you do the work? Because it's one thing to get shown the way, it's another thing to do the work to get the results. Are you ready to do the work? So here's what I did so that my clients don't have to, right? I'm gonna go through this really quickly. Trial and error. I did all the things. I've made all the mistakes, right? I have made plenty of costly mistakes, so you don't have to. I told you about one of them already, right? And so now you get the proven frameworks and strategies that I have built because of those mistakes that I have now share with my clients who you have seen, right? So that they can get the results that I get. It's one thing for me to get results. It's another thing to build something that other people can replicate and so that they can get similar results. So time and effort. So I've done the countless hours, late nights, lessons hard won, right? And I've baked all of that learning into the frameworks and strategies that I teach so that you can skip ahead. And I have invested the money. When I tell you how, I have invested so much money, y'all, in professional development, personal development. Some I'm like, oh, why did you do that? But always I have learned something, either something that I should not be doing, don't want to do, will never do for my clients, or yes, this is exactly what I needed, right? So I've put my own resources on the line, multiple 6 figures, in fact, of those resources. And I have gotten coaches and courses, and I've done failed launches, and I've done all the things, right, to help you speed your path. So I also have some unique authority and experience that other people in this industry do not have, right? And so they cannot do the things that I can do, and they cannot show you to do the things that I know how to do, right? So I have, as I said earlier, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. And I wasn't just a lawyer, I was a trial lawyer. So I communicated in front of juries and judges, and I tried cases in state and federal courts and before administrative agencies. I have an MBA, I have a bachelor's degree, I have an associate's degree. I was an arbitrator, as a mediator, and I've been in this entrepreneurial space, and I'm a speaker. And the things that I'm teaching you about how you can get 5- and 6-figure contracts, I can teach you because I've done it, right? So I've also been in rooms and been coached by people who coach 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs. And so there are things that I have learned and things that I have been exposed to and people that I have been exposed to that I have taken those learnings also to be able to share those with you. So you could try to figure it all out yourself, or let's be real about it. How many wrong turns, months, or even years would it take for you to replicate what I have done? Right? To get all of those things into a framework that I can teach to you, and you can then take that and go out there and make your money. And so how much money would you have to experiment with? When I tell you I have experimented with multiple 6 figures, I have experimented with multiple 6 figures, and I don't want that for you. So sometimes when you do that, like I said, you have nothing to show for it. But how many opportunities are going to slip by while you try to get it right. How many months, how many years have you all been in the same, cycle that we were talking about now? How many months have you been in that? And how much are you losing? Not just monetarily, right? Sometimes, we focus just on the money, but what are we losing in our own evaluation of ourselves? What are we losing in our emotional energy, right? When we are doing all the work. It's funny, I did a whole video this morning about doing the work and not seeing, things come to fruition, like me in this weight loss and wanting to give up, but still having to get up every day and do the work. So what will all of that cost you if you continue to do that in that cycle? And what if you didn't have to find out? So if I could show you what's worked for me and my clients, would you want to see it? Would you want to know what that is? Let me know. Would you want to see it? Because if not, we could stop. I know the chat is slow. So would you want to see it? Let me know. For sure, Kristen says. All right, well, we're going to keep going. All right. And if there was a place for you to go to learn how to make these shifts, would you want to be in that room? If the answer to that is yes, let me know. Would you want to be in that room so that you can learn these things, that you can show up and make these shifts? Darius says, does this apply to people that are not speakers? I do the operations for speakers. Ooh, tell me more about that. Tell me more about what you mean by you do the operations for speakers, because yes, you probably should be in that room, because then your clients will be in that room. So yes, tell me what you do specifically. Well, none of this has to be a hypothetical yes, right? So we get asked these questions all the time, and it's like a hypothetical, but none of this has to be hypothetical, because I have built that room for you. And that room is called the Speaking Industry Expo. It is happening in Atlanta, November 3rd through the 5th of this year. And it's not only a vision that I have, but a vision that is backed by companies who see the vision too. So we are backed by our presenting sponsor, which is High Level, Go High Level. So if anybody uses Go High Level as their CRM, we are backed by Verizon Business, who's one of our sponsors, Captivate, who is going to be providing some training before the event even starts, and Winter Law Practice, the Immigration Annex, and the Immigration Law Academy. And we're still talking to other sponsors right now. So if you already know that you want to be in the room, you can go to speakingindustryexpo.com/registration. But for those of you who are like, well, what is this really about, Kelly? What's going to happen here? Can I share the details of the 6 with you? Darius says, I do all of the back end structure for speakers. Oh, girl, you need to be in the room. You need to be in the room. We should have a conversation, but you definitely need to be in the room. So stick and stay for the next maybe 10 minutes so that I can share with you the details of the 6, but definitely your people would be in the room. So I would encourage you to be there. All right. So the Speaking Industry Expo, you're going to leave with positioning that sets you apart in a crowded market. You are going to leave with a monetization system that doesn't rely on constant output. You're going to leave with buyer-facing clarity across your suite of offers, and you're going to leave with the confidence to position, price, and pitch your expertise, because this is what I'm all about. It's all about helping you to position, price, and package your expertise for profit. So everything is built around that at the Speaking Industry Expo. So one of our labs, so one of the things we're going to have is we are going to have what are called implementation labs. So day 2 of the conference, which might be day 1 for some people if you don't have the Mogul ticket, is our business incubator. In there, we're going to have different labs. So we're going to have positioning and messaging. We're going to have marketing and visibility. We're going to have infrastructure and systems, and we're going to have sales and conversion. So when we have our positioning and messaging lab, you're going to get clear on your voice and your message and be able to build authority that drives opportunities. Remember, the opportunities are there, but if you don't show up in the way that you need to in order to drive that opportunity to you, you're not going to get it. You turn your expertise into content that opens doors. So one of the things we'll be using is one of the AI team members. Her name is Remixie. And Remixie is going to help you take one piece of content and turn that into a whole 30 days, quarter, however long you want for content. It'll be just one piece of content that will help you do that. And so we'll be leveraging that AI tool. You'll get seen by potential buyers, partners, and decision makers. I know often we think, well, they're just like me. They're not a buyer. They're not a decision maker. They could be, especially if you're a coach. You don't know where people work or who they know. So they could be, right? So everybody in that room is important. We're building an ecosystem in that room. We're also going to have an expo hall with Derry. That might be something for you to consider, is to have a booth in the expo hall so that the speakers who are there can learn more about your services. And we're going to have our Iconic Talks speaker showcase. In our business infrastructure and systems lab, I'm really excited about this because our presenting sponsor, Go High Level, is going to be teaching this. Remember, I said one of the shifts that we have to do is to understand and really get into systems and processes. Here you go, right? Go High Level. You could do any and everything that you could do on Go High Level. And they're also giving you a 30-day free trial. So they're going to show you how to automate. One of the things people ask me about all the time is automating the business, right? We need to save time. We need to reduce our stress. We need to grow, but we need to do that with structure in place, right? And so they'll help you understand how to build a back end to your business that supports your big stage presence. So, Derry talks about helping you on the back end. If Derry was working with you, then that's something that if you have that system already in place, that's something that you all could collaborate on. And it wouldn't be, just like putting things together from scratch. Premium packaging and price. So when we talk about sales and conversion lab, now this is so cool because I just built 3 new team members. One's named Aaliyah. So Aaliyah is going to help you to get market validated pricing. So one of the things about pricing in the speaking industry is that it's made up. It is completely made up. There is no standard. There's no levels. I know people tell you that there are not. It's all made up. And part of what happens, and what I've seen with clients and just other women that I have spoken to, is that when we come from the corporate space into entrepreneurship, or we're in entrepreneurship, we don't truly understand our value. We don't even know how to calculate that value. And so we lose confidence. And so whatever somebody says is the fee that they're willing to pay or the budget, then we go with that because it's like, well, I don't know what the number should be. Well, we're going to stop all that. And Aaliyah is going to help you do that. So Aaliyah is your authority pricing model consultant. And Aaliyah, I have built based on my expertise and my frameworks. You will input data. She will analyze it. She will strategize with you. And she will advise you and then give you your own pricing report. When I tell you this thing is bad, listen, y'all. I'm just letting you know. But that's Aaliyah. But Aaliyah also works with Octavia because it's one thing to know what you should charge, but what am I charging for? So I've also built Octavia. Octavia is your offer design consultant. So what Octavia is going to do is Octavia will take your report from Aaliyah, and Octavia will work with you, again, with your input. Octavia will work with you to design your offers. Because one of the things that is how you get these 5- and 6-figure contracts is to understand how to build offers, not just be like, oh, I'm going to do a workshop. Oh, I'm going to, I'll just speak. No, what is the actual offer? And building an offer around your clients' problems, their pain points, the solutions that they want. So Olivia is going to help you do that. But wait, there's more, because I also built Sonia. Sonia is your sales coach, and Sonia is going to help you to how do you pitch, right? How do you develop the proposal? So taking what you got from Aaliyah and taking what you got from Octavia, then you have Sonia, because Sonia is going to help you now put all of that together. You have a sales conversation. Great. Let's work through it. Let's practice. She's going to practice with you. She's going to teach you about objections. If you have objections, like how do you handle objections? If you have to do a proposal, what's in that proposal? All of these things Sonia is going to help you with. So I'm building more, but that's what we have right now, right? And they will all be there, and we're going to be working with that, because the idea is that when you come to the 6 and you leave, you are not to leave with just a book of notes. You are to leave with assets for your business that you can implement right away, that you can even use while you're there, right? You all can be pitching and doing all different things while you're there. So I am not here for y'all to take notes. I am not here for you to be inspired. Here for you to be activated. The 6 is created for implementation and activation, right? So you'll know how to build and price your offers, learn how to pitch them, design a sales flow. You'll be able to do all the things, and we'll be leveraging. Obviously, I'll be teaching you, but you're also going to leverage AI to get some of those things. And you're going to have a powerhouse network. So, you all are on here today. Get in the room and get to know each other, right? So I just, met Darian. Thank God I was looking on LinkedIn and saw that she needed to get in this room. And now I've learned that she does something that, right, could be useful to our guests and could be useful for her as a guest. So the idea is to get into rooms where you can collabosource, where you have a circle of peers that understand your language and know what you're doing, right? That can support you, understand when you say, oh, this is hard. Oh, I can't believe this. I don't know how to do this. Do you know how to do this? Have you ever done this? Has this ever happened to you? Right? So learn how to build relationships that could lead to contracts, to referrals, to collaborations, right? Find people who are your people. That's the idea of this whole thing. And so you need to join a movement that disrupts an industry. The reason that I decided that I wanted to do the 6 is because I want to disrupt the speaking industry. The speaking industry has a problem. It has a problem with devaluing and discounting women experts, particularly Black and brown women, right? And so I believe it's exploitive. I believe this industry is exploitive, but I also know that because we do not have the knowledge that we need and we do not show up as a CEO, we are always showing up as talent, and we don't think about running our businesses the way that we should, then we are also complicit in that exploitation. And my mission is for us to not do that anymore, right? To no longer be complicit and to really stand in the power of who we are and demand to be paid the value that we deserve. So the entire 6 ecosystem is built around that. So November 3rd through the 5th is when we're going to have this event. November 3rd, if you buy the Mogul ticket, Kristen says, love it. If you buy the Mogul ticket, then that day you will have a mastermind with me. So you'll get to be in a small room with me, be able to ask me questions directly, and we'll have lunch and just have a good time. But we're going to be there, right, to get things done. We're also going to have fun. Day 2 is November 4th. And on November 4th is when we're going to be doing our business incubator. So all day we'll be doing training. And then later that night, we're going to party, honey. We are going to party. We're having a pink party in our expo hall. Day 2 is also when our expo hall opens. So we're going to have exhibitors in there. And the women who are on our stage, who are on our Iconic Talk stage, they'll have their businesses in the expo hall, but you could also have your business in the expo hall. If you want people to see you, if you want to be able to promote your business and your services, we still do have spaces for exhibitors to be in the expo hall. So we could talk about that. And so my question for you is, let me tell you, November 5th is day 3, and that's our Iconic Talks showcase day. So you will see other experts on stage, right? So they're going to be doing like 10-minute TED Talks. We're also going to be doing collabosourcing because I said that's important. So we're going to do dedicated time where you will be able to network, because I know what happens. You go to these events and everybody's like, oh, you should really go meet 2 people, meet 3 to 5 people before you leave. But they want you to do it like all out. No, if you're like me, you hate that. I can't stand it. And so I'm going to create a space where we can work together and dedicated time in the experience for you to be able to get to know the people who are in the room and try to build those relationships. So does the 6 sound like a room that you need to be in? So I've been watching y'all on here, and I think everybody in here needs to be in that room. So let me know, should you be in that room? Does this sound like a room that you should be in? Michonne says, I am finalizing a contract on Monday. Let me see if I should be reading this out loud. Oh no. Okay, Michonne, I see that. No worries. Michonne, stay on because I want to talk to you about something. Okay, Jerry said yes, and Sherry said yes. Okay. And don't leave, y'all. Like once I finish this in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to open up for questions if you have any questions. So here are your options. You have the option to come for one day. So that one day could be November 4th or November 5th. If you come on November 4th, then you get the business incubator, the expo, and the party. If you come on November 5th, you get the showcase, the expo, right? And so right now, actually, those tickets, if you go online, those tickets are $199. So right, they're regular $275, but that one's right now, I think $197. If you want 2 days, November 4th and 5th, so you have the business incubator, you have the expo hall, you have the showcase, you have the party, then that's your 2-day ticket, and that's $500. All of these are at speakingindustryexpo.com/registration, or scan the QR code. If you want to go all in, if you're a person who's like, no, if there's VIP, there's Mogul, there's whatever there is that's the highest, the premier, I want that, then you need to choose the Mogul ticket, which is November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And here's the crazy thing right now. The crazy thing right now is that our sponsors have covered 50% of those tickets. We only have a limited number of those tickets. They're covering it. So it's $475. So you get a $950 ticket for $475, 3 days, which is less than our 2-day ticket right now. That is nuts. And that is nuts. And those tickets are only available until September 30th or when they're gone, whichever comes first, right? So if you were thinking about it, you need to get that ticket. $475, go get it, go grab it. Make sure that you are in the room. Chris is, okay, I get it. No, I hear you. So, and if you, fast action bonus, first 5 people that get the 2 or 3 day ticket before the event even happens, we're going to do a pre-event group mastermind with me. And Kristen, stay on because I may have something else for you. 60-minute pre-event group mastermind. And you get a 1/4-page ad in our event program. So again, getting your business in front of all of the people who are in the room. But that expires tonight. So if you want the fast action bonus, go grab your ticket. Like I said, the $475 is, you can get a 3-day ticket right now, right? So for $475, you get a 3-day ticket. You get a pre-event group mastermind. You actually also get a post-event because that comes with the Mogul ticket. And you get daily lunch with the Mogul ticket, right? And plus you would get this 1/4-page ad if you do it by tonight. So speakingindustryexpo.com/registration. So again, I'm going to invite you to join me at the Speaking Industry Expo, November 3rd through the 5th. So it's decision time, y'all. You can say thanks and, I'll see you at the 6th. And I'm so excited that I will be there with you and see you at the 6th. Or you can say, no, I'm going to just stay home, right? But maybe you're asking, is it really worth the time or the travel? What if staying home, though, is the most expensive option? Because you're probably running the numbers. I know, right? There's tickets, flights, hotels, there's time away. And if you're like most people, it's not that you don't want to go, right? It's not that you don't want to be in that room. It's that you're calculating whether or not this moment justifies the investment. So here's a deeper cost that most people don't factor in. What does it actually cost to keep waiting? It's another quarter of second guessing your prices. It's another launch without a strategy. It's another year of content that builds visibility. Like, we all out here putting out content, but we're not making any money from it. So the cost of staying stuck, it's going to add up fast. It's going to add up faster than the time it takes for you to go get your ticket and get in the room, right? And so the longer you delay your next level, the more expensive your current level becomes. The longer you delay your next level, the more expensive your current level becomes. So here's what's waiting for you on the other side: clear positioning, offers that sell, and a business that sustains you and your family. So if you're tired of waiting and you're ready to be a highly paid and sought after speaker, trainer, coach, consultant, then there's only one thing between you and that reality. And that's a decision. Remember, I said we have a desire, we have commitment, we have belief, but we have to take action. And that action is that decision. So I'm going to invite you to choose your ticket level, whether it's a 1-day ticket, a 2-day ticket, your Mogul ticket, which again, now is being sponsored at 50% off. So my question to you is, will you bet on you Will you believe in you? Will you invest in you? And if the answer is yes, then meet me at the 6th, the Speaking Industry Expo, November 3rd through the 5th. Go to speakingindustryexpo.com/registration, and I will see you in